Morning, everyone. It's February 5th at 8 o'clock. So we'll call our County Board of Supervisors together for St. Croix County. And at this time, our invocation will just everybody stand. We'll have a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. Will you join me in Pledge Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We'll have roll call. Cindy. Thank you, everyone. At this time, we're open for public comment. Anybody have any from the audience have anything to say for on or off the agenda? We're open for public comment for anything on or off the agenda at this time. One more time. Anybody from the public that wants to talk anything on or off the agenda? Not see anything, we'll move forward. Thank you. We have our consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? Supervisor Coulter, do I have a second? Supervisor Brinkman. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Not seeing anything. We have a motion and a second, and I didn't see anybody want to discuss anything, so at this time we'll vote on it. That's all yeses. Thank you. We have a presentation this morning to start with, 2019 St. Croix County Relay for Life. Julie will speak to that for us.
Good morning, my name is Julie Peterson, and not only am I an employee for St. Croix County, I'm also the co-chair for the 2019 St. Croix County Relay for Life. The Relay for Life will be held on June 7th and 8th at the St. Croix Central High School in Hammond. The Relay is one of the largest fundraisers for the American Cancer Society. The St. Croix County Relay is one of the only 24-hour events held across the state. So many of us have been touched by cancer. A child is diagnosed with cancer every 2 minutes, and 1 in 5 won't survive. So we need to fix this. So what is the Relay for Life? Like I said, it's the biggest fundraiser that the American Cancer Society has. It's held in lots of communities and 27 countries now, as of last year. So let's see. How can you get involved, which is why I'm here, to get the word out to the whole county and all your constituents. In 2017, the American Cancer Society gave free rides to treatment to over 20,000 cancer patients. They provided free lodging near hospitals for more than 25,000 cancer patients and their caregivers. We answered over 1.3 million calls on the 24/7 helpline, offering support and helpful information to cancer patients who needed someone to talk to. The web link that's here on the screen is a little bit shorter than the one that's in your packet. Just relayforlife.org and then /St. Croix County WI. So please join us. So ways that you can help: you can walk in our relay June 7th and 8th. Starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It is St. Croix Central's last day of school, but we're hoping that we can get some more students to walk with us as well. You can celebrate for those who have won their battle with cancer, those who are doing the research to find the cures, and those whose lives are forever changed because of a cancer journey. we can remember together those who have gone before us in the fight, those who never give up in spirit, and those who put in the countless hours to care for a loved one. And we need to fight back. Be an advocate, join a team, raise awareness, help someone fight the fight. You can also donate, of course. We have a big silent auction at the relay. You can get pledges, you can donate your time or money, we take that too. What's new in 2019, which is why I wanted to give you this presentation, and I did speak a short presentation at the October meeting. We have a new location this year. Instead of having a relay in Hudson and a relay in New Richmond, we are going to have one giant St. Croix County relay in Hammond, which is the heart of St. Croix County. And we are very excited about our new location. Our theme is Candyland. A Kier never tasted so sweet. You'll see lots of Candyland themed posters and events going up soon. We have a brand new committee, and we have a new American Cancer Society rep that's working with us. She's a little spitfire and young and energetic, and she's fun to have around. And we have new survivors to add to our celebration. We consider anyone who has received a cancer diagnosis and gone even one day to be a survivor. So I'm sure we all know someone who fits that bill. Why do we do this? We have been doing a relay in St. Croix County for more than 25 years. I know many people who have benefited from cancer research, treatment, and assistance from the American Cancer Society. We can learn more about all the things the American Cancer Society does. We can be more aware and more preventative. It's easy to participate, it's fun to participate. There's things going on all night. If you're a night owl, we've got stuff for you. I have lots of personal connections to cancer. I know many of you in this room also do. And just because cancer sucks, so that's why we do this. Does anybody have any questions for me at all? Anything else? Please join me in getting the word out about the relay and the new location, and I encourage all of you to stop by sometime in that 24-hour period and join us for a lap or two around the track.
Okay. Thank you, Julie. We'll move on to our annual reports and county clerk, Cindy.
This will be fairly short and sweet and not long and boring like a Super Bowl, recent Super Bowl. So, sorry, just wanted to see a little spark in the Rams, right? My report is in your packet, and I'm just going to highlight the elections from 2018. So we had 4 scheduled elections and 1 special election. The special election was in January for the state Senate race. The primary was in December of 17. And because that was a special election, the county was required to pay for more costs than it normally would, including poll worker costs, which the county doesn't normally pay, and notices and supplies for the municipalities. So that's why the election budget was over budget in 2018. Just put those two together. The Department of Administration's final population estimates for St. Croix County was 88,583. Of that, the estimated voter population is 65,323 voters. In January, we had a 17% voter turnout. At the spring primary, there was a 7.4% voter turnout. Spring election, we had a 19.5% voter turnout. Partisan primary was a 16% voter turnout, which is normal for the partisan primary. It always seems to be low. And at the general election was a 61 voter turnout. Normally for a gubernatorial, we have between a 50 and 55% voter turnout, so this one is a bit higher in St. Croix County. For the general election, there were about 7,800 absentee ballots returned. We also tracked election day registrations. There were 3,823 election day registrations for the general election. EDRs, that was high, very high. So needless to say, the polling places were quite busy. The county clerk's office serves as, we have 15 relier municipalities that we work with for WISVote services for voter registration, maintaining voter data, preparing poll lists, and entering voter activity. Clerks are responsible to track absentees in WISVote. We do that service for some of our relier municipalities. That includes tracking when they receive a request, when the absentee ballot's been sent, and when it's been returned. So for 7,800 absentee ballots, that was a lot of tracking throughout the county. My Vote, I always encourage you to go to My Vote. You can see your ballot, you can see where your polling place is, you can see who your elected officials are. You can also track your absentee ballot there. That's why it's tracked in WisVote. They're connected. I'd like to thank the Board of Canvass members that I've had in 2018. Dean Skip Jewett, he represents the Democratic Party. Scott Nordstrand, the Republican Party, and Hugh Gwynn and Wanda Nielsen also served, and myself, and if I'm on the ballot, Amy Hansen serves in my place. My staff is Amy Hansen, Patty Thompson, Shannon Conan. Please stop by sometime and say hello. They're always wondering who the board members are if they don't know you. I'd like to thank the board, the administration committee, Chair Larson, Vice Chair Osnes. Scott Cox has been a big help in my office as well, and the IT staff. So do you have any questions for me on my report?
Any questions?
Great.
Thank you, Cindy.
I just started my 16th year as county clerk, so
Yep.
it's gone fast. Thank you.
Our next annual report is the County Treasurer's Denise Anderson.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to speak and for taking the time to review my report. I kept it deliberately concise, just mentioning the most important points, and I'm not going to read it to you, but I just wanted to mention a few other things that weren't included in there that might be of interest. In December, we calculated and printed bills for 49,582 parcels. There were about 300 more real estate tax bills in the county, but also about 300 less personal property tax bills. So it ended up being about the same number of bills as in 2017. The total of all levies in St. Croix County is just under $173 million. As is mentioned, we do contract to collect for 16 of those 35 municipalities, and that ends up being about 60% of the total parcels and about 70% of that total dollar amount. So we're pretty busy in December and January. We have a lot of activity. For the third year after the taxes were calculated, we did run reports of the new owners of properties that sold at the end of the year. We look those properties up, and anything that's unpaid, we send them a copy of that tax bill. That's well received. It results in prevention of a lot of late payments. We sent out 331 copies this year. I think the biggest improvement in our office was the integration of the online payment provider directly with our tax collection software. That helps prevent people from paying the wrong municipality. It saves our office a lot of time in data entry, contacting the taxpayers, making accounting adjustments and that sort of thing. So that was a big improvement. We had just a few problems with that implementation, and then it ran really smoothly. As far as the online payments, we continue to see an increase in the amount of money that's collected online. It's been about a 20% increase each year for the last 2 years. And obviously we expect to see that trend continue, especially as people become more accustomed to using that e-check. For an e-check, it only costs $1.50 as opposed to 2.39% if you use a credit card. I think in January, our final numbers aren't in yet, but I think we saw over $1 million in online payments just this past January. Going forward into 2019, we'll continue to work to strengthen our internal controls, refine our procedures, cross-train our staff. And in fact, we've already started work on the goals that are outlined there. We've already started on all of those this year. So, does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Denise? Not seeing any. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
We'll turn it over to our administrator, Pat Thompson, for a financial report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, in your packet, you have financial reports for the month of December through 2018. These are not year-end financial reports. Those will come out starting next month and then into March for year-end numbers. But if you look at expenditures for, and this is at a high level, in your standing committees, you see each of these oversight areas broken down by department. At the board level, we show you total categories of administrative, and then community development, health and human services, transportation, and public protection. And those 5 areas are covered by our standing committees. And on a monthly basis, the committees go through in a little bit more detail by department. But at a high level, the preliminary, very preliminary year-end for the first group of administrative departments, a total budget of $29.4 million. Year-to-date expenditures are coming in at 25.7, with a almost 13% budget remaining. Community development, a total budget of 2018 of $8.3 million. Year-to-date expenditures at 7.8, with almost 6% budget remaining. Health and Human Services, a $25 million authorization, and year-to-date 24.5. So they're at least by this report slightly over, but I'll look at that before year-end. Typically, Health and Human Services revenues stagger in after the first of the year, so we'll still be booking revenues for Health and Human Services well into 2019 for 2018 purposes. Transportation, $16.9 million authorization. Their year-to-date is at 14.5, so they have almost a 15% budget remaining. Public Protection Group had a $18.3 million budget, and their year-to-date expenditures are at 17.6, with 3% budget remaining. So all, with the exception of Health and Human Services, but that's mainly due to the revenue. All those groups are within budget at this point by year end. Preliminary, again, the revenues collections are strong. Sales tax collections are strong. The vehicle registration fee revenue, which provides funds for our road maintenance and repair, that looks strong. The budgets overall, and I've discussed this a little bit with committees at the department level, we're budgeting tighter now. Budgets are much tighter than they were, say, 5 years ago. Departments had a little more leeway, a little more flexibility, but we've, over the years, we've really tightened those down. So we're going to see, in prior years, we had quite a bit of balance at the end of the year that would fall to the bottom line. We're going to still see that, but not at the levels that we've seen before, because of the way that we're budgeting now. There's less, I don't like to use the word cushion, but there's just less give and take at the department level. But I think we're going to, I'm sure that we're going to end the year on a positive balance. So I'm not worried about that, but it's just, it is tighter. I've noticed this over the past couple of years. So things are good. The capital improvement summary is there. And starting in 2019 now, the financial reports will be a little more meaningful as we get into our second year of the new financial systems. The reports will start to show more information, especially on the revenue side. I think we've done a good job with the expenditure side. I think we're going to start showing how much property tax is portioned out per department. So for each department, we'll see what the portion of their property tax, the county tax levy is by department. So that'll be fairly interesting to see. That was not reflected in the 2018 monthly reports, but we'll start seeing that in 2019. I just wanted to remind the board of our strategic planning session scheduled for March 12th at 8 a.m. Try to allocate, certainly will be done by noon. I'm hopeful that we'll be done more like 11. So if you could allocate three, but 4 at the very most, for strategic planning purposes. It's not the most exciting stuff in the world, believe me, but we're going to try to make it interesting. I emphasize it because it's important, especially for all board members, but especially new ones. You inherited a strategic plan. Now it's your opportunity to put your fingerprints on a new strategic plan, and we do use it. The departments and we make a very good effort towards aligning resources and budgets toward the board's goals. So if there's something in the current strategic plan that you think is obsolete or it's not meaningful, let's get it out of there. If you want to insert some new goals and objectives or ideas or something that you as a county board supervisor think is important that I focus on or that departments focus on, let's talk about it at the strategic planning session. That's what it's all about, is trying to solicit input from county board supervisors, what you want to accomplish as a board. And we try to capture that and get it on paper, and then it becomes part of our overall work plan for the administration and for department leadership. So it's important. It's not the most exciting process in the world, but Eric Biltonen from UW Extension is going to help us, and he's good at this. He'll bring out the best, and we'll take that as our plan going forward. And our thoughts are we're going to try to do this at least every 2 years after a new board is seated. We're going to kind of change the timing of strategic planning so we get new board members coming in that have certain ideas and thoughts. We want to, as a board, collectively put that together in terms of a plan. So that's March 12th at 8 a.m. And we may even try to have some food for you to nourish your brains and your strategic thinking. And then I'd like to just quickly, and I didn't tell them I was going to do this, but those of you that pay attention to what's going on with the budget, which all of you do, we had an assistant finance director position reinserted into the budget to give Ken a little help, and he's with us today. Mike Wagner, he's sitting there in the blue shirt with a computer on his lap, and he's probably looking at our financial reports as we speak. So Mike, welcome to the finance department. We look forward to your work. He's a CPA. He's got good background in finance, and he's going to help us a lot. And then right before we adjourn, I'm going to ask the board to stay, and we're going to do a little bit of very, very short. Ken wants to explain how to get into the portal to look at your payroll, for lack of a better word. For as new board members, you're part of the new financial system. We had a couple board members ask to see how they get into the system to look at their per diem for the year, which we keep track of. So Ken Witt and Mike are going to explain that to the board briefly afterwards, right before we adjourn. And then also Jim Ellsbury wants to explain a bit, very short, on your badges and how you're going to be able to access the entrance of the building to get in, and plus to get into the key watch system, which we're installing in the front entrance. If you see a big hole in the wall, we're going to be putting in a key watch system, which we use at county facilities. So board members that are reserving a county-owned fleet vehicle to travel, you will be able to access the keys for that, for your vehicle through a little system we have set up in the front. So Jim Ellsbury will explain that. So that'll be right before we adjourn. I promise it won't take any longer than 10 minutes. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions on Supervisor?
Mr. Chairman or County Administrator or Administration Committee, I'm curious to know what you are thinking about in terms of homework for us in the run-up to the strategic planning session.
Thank you for bringing that up. I meant to mention that Eric will be sending out a very, very short survey or questionnaire. It's going to ask you a couple of questions to prepare for in advance. And it's basically kind of what I covered in some of my comments. It's going to hopefully start to get you thinking about what your goals, what your thoughts, what your vision is for St. Croix County. And so Eric has got a very short, brief questionnaire survey that he will send that out in advance for you to hopefully complete. And I think he's going to have you return them to him so he can kind of do some brief analysis of that before he comes in to work with us on the 12th. So that's not a lot of homework, but you will be getting something in your email, hopefully soon. We're also doing the same with department heads. They've already gotten their questions. I think they went out this week, kind of asking the same thing. Have them prepare, because department heads will also be part of the session. They're not going to be there for the whole session. We're going to allow some time for the board to meet as just a board without a lot of staff, but then we're also going to have a section of the morning with department heads who are very helpful in putting stuff together, because they work very close with their departments, and so they can help us. So thank you, Buck.
Any other questions? Not seeing any. Thank you, Pat. We'll move on with our business items. Our first one is appointment of County Board Supervisor for District 2, and we have 3 candidates for that. We're going to do similar to what we did the last time. We will draw their names out as in the order they'll come to the podium and speak to us. At this time, I'll probably turn it over to Corp Counsel Scott Cox.
So we went through this last couple months ago.
Yep.
So we have 15 board supervisors today. I think my math's correct. So the successful candidate needs to receive 8 votes. Until that candidate receives 8 votes, or till a candidate receives 8 votes, you keep voting.
So if there's no further questions, I'll have Cindy pull the names out, or if she already has, and then we'll call one person at a time up. And
First one is Richard Caruso. Second, Jim Endel. And then Angela Olson.
Morning.
good morning.
I just want to take a moment to thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you today. It's a great opportunity for me. I really appreciate you listening. Just gonna take a second to tell you about myself. I'm not one for speeches, so I will keep this short. I grew up in Hudson, and I'm a graduate of Hudson High. Leaving Hudson, I pursued a vocational education as a diesel technician. After several years in the field, I found myself wanting more from my career. I wanted to use my skills to help people and do well in the world. I became a utility operator with the Village of Osceola and quickly became the Public Works Director and now the Public Utilities Coordinator. I met my wife in high school. Although neither of us knew it at the time, we would be married some 10 years later. A few years ago, we moved from our Hudson home to St. Joseph, where we keep chickens, have way too much grass to mow, and now recently raise our son. After participating in many village board and committee meetings through work, I noticed a generational gap across local governments. I'm asking for the opportunity to change that today. I hope to bring my practical, hands-on experience to the county board. I come to you today with a fresh set of eyes and a devotion to do what is right for our county and community. In my work as a utilities coordinator, I do my best to plan for the future, realize the impact we are making today, and the effect that we have on generations to come. I strive to make informed and thoughtful decisions. I look to the future, learn from the past, and strive for excellence. Thank you again for this great opportunity, and I hope to work beside you, as it would be a great honor to fulfill my civic duty and bring the county forward. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Richard?
Thanks again.
Thank you very much.
Chairman Larson and board members, good morning. And thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today about the District 2 position. My name is Jim Endel, and I live in Somerset Township on the eastern side of District 2, and just outside of North Bass Lake. I'd like to cover three things this morning. First, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about myself. I'd like to tell you why I'm interested in this position, and lastly, I'd like to tell you how I think I can be an effective member of this board. So first, a little bit about me. I was born in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and I've lived in Wisconsin for most of my life. I met my wife, Sue, in college, where shortly after we married, and we've been married for 23 years. After moving back from Texas from education, I settled down in Somerset, just outside of North Bass Lake in 2006. We built a home there. We've been there ever since. Sue and I have a 9-year-old daughter, and we enjoy the outdoors. We like to go to local lakes and parks, and we just enjoy living in this area. I work at 3M as an engineer, and as an engineer, I've tackled a diverse array of projects through my 18-year career. I've enjoyed working on teams both as a leader and as an effective member of the teams. I've been effective, I believe, because I've done three things. First, I've taken on challenging projects. Second, not always being the expert in the room, I relied on experts within 3M to help me out with my work and to consult to make sure we do a good job. And lastly, I made it a point to grow as an engineer. I've continued to grow in my career, as you can see in my resume. By God's grace, I've been successful on many projects, and I'm grateful to have been working at 3M. And this is why I'm coming forward. I want to serve my neighbors. I believe it's important to serve my neighbors and to care about my community. I've tried to demonstrate this in my life, and I've done that, and I'll give you a few examples of how I've done that. First example is I volunteer with the Food Harvest of St. Croix Valley that meets over in Lakeland Elementary, where they provide food for families in need. I volunteered for the last 2 years to be prompt, on time, and to help unload their trucks. In addition to that, I volunteer through my church, Faith Community, that's just down the road from here. I do a number of service projects through them, including a lot of home repair and everything from moving rocks to lighting fixtures to whatever's necessary to help out folks who are in need. And I also do projects that affect the whole community. One example is I've worked with my friend and neighbor Brad, and we went out and with a number of other men and helped to install steps at the Perch Lake boat landing, which is a place where my daughter and I love to go swimming. In addition to that, I've done other things through church, and my family also supports this community. My wife owns a business called Just Between Friends of Woodbury that affects and helps people throughout Woodbury and also up to and through Hudson. Through that activity, that business, we provide low-cost clothing and toys to children for families like yours and mine, families who are in need. And in addition to that, we are blessed to be able to provide a truckload of clothing to families who, especially mothers who are in need after each sale. I described a little bit about ways I've invested my life for my neighbors in my community. I also see this as an opportunity to work for my neighbors, but I also see it as an important responsibility and not one to be taken lightly. As a supervisor on this board, my strategy would be the same at work. Where possible, take on challenging projects. I would consult with, in addition to doing my own independent research, I would consult with the experts who are in this room. And finally, I would strive to become an effective member of this board. I'm grateful to be here today to tell you a little bit about myself, to share my desire to serve my neighbors, and I believe I can be a useful and successful member of this board. I thank you for your time and your consideration. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Jim? That's the need. Thank you, Jim.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here today to speak to all of you. I'm Angela Olson. I've lived in St. Croix County now since 2005. I grew up in southeastern Wisconsin in a little town called Slinger in Washington County, which, as I'm sure many of, if not all of you know, is one of our competitors for the fastest growing county in the state. After graduating from high school, I went to St. Cloud State University and then to Hamlin University School of Law, which is now Mitchell-Hamlin. After graduating, I moved to New Richmond in 2005 with my husband and have lived in New Richmond ever since. We now have 3 children, twin boys who turned 11 yesterday, and a 7-year-old daughter. We moved from the east side of New Richmond to Somerset Township in 2015. I also own a law firm in Hudson, and I have an office in New Richmond. I practiced law since 2005. You'll probably be hard-pressed to find someone that's more involved in the New Richmond community than me. I have served on multiple boards, from the chamber to currently the New Richmond Area Community Foundation, local sports organizations, and the school district. I also have served the Hudson community because that's where my business is. I've been on the Youth Action Hudson Board, been part of the Hudson Chamber, and other organizations there as well. I'm in the process of purchasing the Garrity & Garrity law firm building after Mark Garrity retired. I am active and involved mainly because I guess I don't need a lot of sleep, but also because I want St. Croix County to be better for my children, to be better for my neighbors' children, my friends' kids, for young families. I want families to want to stay here, not to move across the river. And I think as a board, you've done great work to ensure that that happens. And I think that we all need to do more to make sure that happens. And I think that having me on the board will give that perspective of what young families are looking for, what they need, what they want, and what we can give them. We have to be relevant, but we also have to grow, and we also have to be stable. And I think I can provide all of those aspects. I'm a successful business owner, and I think I have a good perspective on what all of us need. I have a good relationship with law enforcement as I practice criminal law and family law. I also am really excited to see what this board can do. When I met with Roger and he wanted to know how much I knew about what the county has done, I felt like I didn't know enough yet. And that's why I want to join the board, is because I want to know more. I want to be part of more. I can tell you backwards and forwards what New Richmond is doing, mostly what Hudson is doing, River Falls, all the cities and communities in our area, but I want to be a part of what the St. Croix County Board is doing and what the county is doing for the members. So I would be very excited to work alongside of you and keep our county growing and keep our county successful, safe, and happy for everyone. Thank you.
Any questions for Angela?
Roger, I have one question I was going to ask of Angela, but to be fair, I probably should ask it of all three candidates. But does your work schedule, and for the other two gentlemen, do your work schedules allow a bit of flexibility for day meetings? Occasionally, we have a combination of evening meetings for committees, but there are some committees, and also this board itself for 4 months of the year, Judy, meets during the day. So hopefully all three candidates have employers, of course you're self-employed, but that allow a bit of flexibility for the three of you to flex your schedules if needed. So maybe just you could speak to it, Angela, and you gentlemen could show by your hands if that's something that would be okay.
Absolutely. Like you said, I am self-employed. I would have to ask maybe for some rescheduling of court hearings from judges, clients, but that isn't a problem. I've got great staff that works around it. I've got a great family support system with my husband that we juggle all the duties, so I am very well aware of the time commitment that this job requires, and that wouldn't be a problem.
At this time, the other two candidates want to speak to that question?
Before pursuing this, I did speak to my boss, and he gave me permission to do this, and we have a flexibility program, so we're okay with it.
Thank you.
I'm in government, so everybody knows how important it is to be on these boards and be a decision-making member of the community. So yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I didn't see any questions other than that, so we will put the ballots out for everybody to vote on it. And when we have a candidate that we approve of, we'll take a short break so they can do the paperwork and swear him in and get his stuff set up, whoever he or she will be. And so we'll get the ballots out at this time.
And just a reminder that the ballots need to be signed in order to be valid. Thanks.
So the first round of balloting, Richard Caruso received 2 votes, Jim Endel received 6, Angela Olson received 7, so we don't have a majority of the quorum. So Mr. Caruso drops out. The second ballot will be Endel and Olson. Thank you.
All right, vote totals for the second round, Endel, 8, Olson, 7.
Congratulations. So at this time, we're going to take a short recess, so we have time to get the paperwork done and the swearing in of the new candidate are set up for them. So we'll take a 10-minute recess if that's all right with everybody. We're back after recess now, and we'll get back into our business items. The next one on the order, and congratulations to our new board member. Jim is welcome. And the resolution approving the sales of approximately 2.5 acres of real estate to the village of Somerset. Do I have Supervisor Peterson and Supervisor Peavy made the second. Is there any discussion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I'll call on the Highway Commissioner if there are questions regarding this, but in a nutshell, it's a resolution coming from both the Transportation Committee and the Administration Committee authorizing the administrator to enter into an agreement with the Village of Somerset for the sale of 2.5 acres within the village. The county owns a 5-acre parcel within the village limits, and we have deemed, or the Transportation Committee has deemed, half of that is not of county use, And the village has approached the county regarding the purchase of 2.5 of the 5 acres for purposes of economic development project that they've been working on for a couple of years now. And so they brought this forward to the committee. The committee looked at it. The highway commissioner has looked at this a lot. I'll turn it over to him, but both committees recommend that we proceed as the resolution authorizes. So I would call on Robbie to fill in any gaps. Thanks.
Administrator Thompson did such a great job. I'm sure there are any gaps there, but the Village of Somerset did approach us in interest as part of an economic development project. This parcel is part of the Somerset pits. In other words, we use it to mine materials, in particular winter maintenance sand. There is a berm that would lie approximately right along the proposed property line. The challenge with this parcel is that mining it is difficult because of the setbacks we have because of the zoning regulations, so it actually worked out very well. Or for us to mine this little 2-acre piece would have created challenges that we'd have had fairly little benefit from. So it works out for all parties involved, and Village of Somerset is actively pursuing. So if there's any questions, I'd certainly try to answer them any way I can.
Are there any questions? Not seeing any, we'll vote at this time. We have a motion and a second on the floor. That's all yeses, thank you. The next item is the resolution establishing temporary succession policy for our administrator. I have a Supervisor Peterson motion, a second. Supervisor Tatum. Any discussion on this?
Mr. Chairman, I'll just introduce it and then turn it over for questions. This is a resolution coming from the Administration Committee. I affectionately refer to it as the administrator gets hit by a bus resolution. This is a temporary succession plan that would be part of our actual operational procedures, that in the absence of the county administrator, the assistant county administrator would on a temporary basis succeed him or her until such time the board deems as a permanent successor. Prior to this, the resolution had read that the Corporation Council would fulfill that role for the board, and this was before we had the Assistant County Administrator position. The board approved that position in the 2019 budget. Ken Witt occupies the seat in that position, and so the committee discussed this and is recommending that the resolution be that's currently in place be amended to replace the Corporation Council with the Assistant County Administrator as a temporary successor. I think Judy had a question.
Yeah, because I know before we had 2 positions. We had the Assistant County Administrator and the Finance Director. And now the Assistant County Administrator is also the Finance Director. Let's say this continues on and we need to get another Assistant County Administrator, but this is someone, do they automatically are going to be the Finance Director? I mean, there's an extra position out there that we used to have that we don't have anymore. So how is that going to work in the years coming up, because things get more convoluted and involved, if they have to be together separate, and will that make a difference?
I don't think it makes a huge difference. The Assistant County Administrator position also functions as the County Finance Director. That was one of the reasons why the board approved the Assistant Finance Director position, Mike Wagner, to assist the Finance Director with his or her responsibilities. But the job of Assistant County Administrator is also, by board approval, also serves as the Finance Director. If the Assistant Administrator needs to temporarily succeed the administrator in his or her absence, he or she would still fulfill that financial director responsibility on a temporary basis until the board decides otherwise.
Any other questions? Not seeing any. We have a motion and second on the floor. We'll vote at this time. And that was all yeses. Thank you. We're down to future agenda items. Do we have any future agenda items? And if we don't, you can send them forward to myself or Cindy or Pat at any time through the month.
Can we make an announcement about future agenda items? I mean, one of the things that I am a little bit concerned about is we've had a lot of new members come on, and we have another new one that is going to be announced a little later today. And they get put in the position and they automatically go to the committee assignment of the person that was on. And that may not necessarily be where their strengths could be utilized to the benefit of the county. And wondering if the bylaws could be adapted or changed to at least open it up so that there's a little bit more flexibility when we do get a new member within the 2 years, if they can find someone to switch committee or just something to open it up so that we can utilize the talents and capabilities of the new person to the best benefit for the county. And if we could, I don't know if that would be a future agenda item for discussion or how you want to handle that, but.
Well, the administration committee is taking up the bylaw changes at their meeting coming up in February, and they're going to bring forward recommendations to the full board for any bylaw changes. So if you want that added to the admin committee's discussion, we can do that.
Is there time to do that?
Yes.
Oh, I would like that added, please.
Supervisor Brinkman, you had something?
I just dealt with what.
Okay, thank you. Any other agenda items? Not seeing any. We'll move down to the county clerk's report and correspondence. Nothing there? Okay. We're down to announcements. Supervisor Malik. Oh.
I'm happy to tell you that the Sportsman's Alliance, along with other partners, had a kids fishing event on Sunday afternoon, and we had 114 kids on Lake Malibu. It's not the highest number we've ever had, but it's a very respectable number, and consistent with the goals of the Sportsman's Alliance, a lot of them were first-time anglers. Happy to borrow the equipment and the poles and, you know, all the equipment, and have mentors there to tactfully show them how to learn how to fish, with the hope of getting more kids away from screens. Yeah, Tom, they caught 11 fish.
Yep.
With 114 kids. Now that would be the reverse of the feeding of the 5,000, wouldn't it?
I just wanted to let everyone know that this will be my last county board meeting. My family is moving to Tennessee, and I haven't officially resigned, but I will be. So it has been an honor and a privilege to serve, And I look forward to still watching the county board meetings online and seeing what the future has for St. Croix County. Thank you.
Okay.